So in this video, we're going to show you how to connect the L298 motor controller to the base, and we're also going to show you how to wire the motors to the motor controller. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to put our bezel around it. This is part of the original tap light, and that'll we just want to make sure it fits and see how the motor, the L298 fits in there. And it's a pretty snug fit, so it's important to get a sense for how the bezel is going to go around it. We want to make sure everything is centered. So once that's sort of centered and set up right, we're going to take a pencil, and if you have a pen or whatever, anything you have to mark the edges, that would be great. I found that a mechanical pencil works well because it's easy to get around the edges. So you can sort of see the faint outline that I've drawn there, and that's going to allow us to make sure that the motor controller is in the center. So we're going to put about a quarter-size blob of hot glue down, and we're going to put our motor controller right on top of that and line it up with the marks that we've just made. Now, it's really important that we line that motor controller up with those marks. If the motor controller is shifted to one side or another, the bezel won't fit over the top in the right way, and so it won't look right, and it won't fit together quite right. It takes a while for that hot glue to dry and to cure, because there's a lot of hot glue there, so there's a lot of thermal mass, and it takes a while for it to cool down. You can actually feel the heat sink, which is the part that my left hand is connected to. You could feel the heat sink getting warmer because it's transferring some of that heat from the hot glue up. So once the hot glue is in place and the L298 is firmly in place, let's double check and make sure that the bezel still fits on around the wires and the L298. Now remember, there's a bunch of different connections on the inside of that bezel, so you might have to rotate it to get it to fit. So in any case, that's basically how the bezel is going to fit, and we've got everything the way we want it as far as the L298. So now what we're going to do is we're going to trim down our motor wires. These are the two motor wires here. We're going to connect those to one side of our L298, and then we'll connect the other two motor wires to the other side of the L298 motor controller, and just right there. And what we'll do is we're going to strip off about a little less than a quarter, about an 1/8 inch of insulation off the edge of the wire. And once we've got that insulation stripped off of both wires on both sides, we can go ahead and then start attaching those wires. And you don't need to strip off a whole lot of insulation. It's actually important that you strip off only about 1/8 of an inch, maybe just a little bit more, 3/16 of an inch, because if you have too much exposed wire, the positive and negative terminal could touch, and then they won't work. The motors won't work appropriately. You'll get a short. Okay, so we're going to loosen our screws and on the motor mount connection there, and then we're going to put our two motor wires in, and we'll tighten those screws back down, and that's going to hold those wires in place. And notice there's no exposed wire. It's just insulation coming out of the motor mount block there, the motor block. So we're tightening that down, and then we're going to put our other wire in there, and you can just sort of push it to the side if it's a little too long. Okay, so that's about it.